Greek philosophy. Throughout the classical period, ancient Greece was merely a collection of small rivaling city-states, while the Persians erected an empire that, at its height, spanned an immense territory, including the whole of the Middle East, Egypt, parts of India, Armenia, Afghanistan, Turkestan, Asia Minor and Thrace. Towards the middle of the 6th century BC, Western Asia was divided into three kingdoms: the Babylonian Empire, Media, now northwestern Iran, and Lydia, which comprised northwestern Asia Minor. After seizing control of the Median Empire, Cyrus invaded Assyria and Babylonia in 549 BC.
In 546 BC, he attacked Croesus of Lydia, defeated him, and annexed Asia Minor to his realm, followed by the gradual conquest of the small Greek city-states along the coast.
Cyrus then conquered Bactriana, and in 539 BC, marched against Babylon. Cyrus' son Cambyses added Egypt in 525 BC, and after him, in 522, Darius came to power and set about consolidating and strengthening the Persian Empire. From 521 to 484 BC, Darius expanded the empire further with conquests in India, Central Asia and European Thrace. Darius did not achieve all that he wished, though his work rivaled that of Cyrus. The empire was decentralized, divided into 20 provinces, each under a satrap who was a royal prince or great nobleman. Royal inspectors surveyed their work and their control over administration made easier by the institution of a royal secretariat to conduct correspondence with the provinces. Aramaic, the old language of the Assyrians, was adopted as the official language, well adapted to imperial affairs because it was not written in cuneiform, but in the Phoenician script. Contact between Greeks and the Magi resulted from the Persian conquest of the Greek city-states of Ionia in Asia Minor. Beginning in the 6th century BC, Ionia came under Persian domination, and for the most part would not achieve independence until the time of Alexander in the 4th century BC. Therefore, as Greek philosophy emerged in a region of the world that was then part of the Persian Empire, it should not be regarded as a Greek phenomenon at all. Though Greek-speaking, most of the first philosophers, referred to collectively as pre-Socratics, were from Ionia. In early Greek philosophy and the Orient, M. L. West has suggested that the introduction of Persian and Babylonian beliefs into Greece was attributable to Magi fleeing west from Cyrus' annexation of Media. In Alien Wisdom, Arnaldo Momigliano affirms, "Those who have maintained that Pherecydes of Syros, Anaximander, Heraclitus and even Empedocles derived some of the doctrines from Persia have not always been aware that the political situation was favorable to such contacts. But this cannot be said of Professor M. L. West, the latest supporter of the Iranian origins of Greek philosophy. He certainly knows that if there was a time in which the Magi could export their theories to a Greek world ready to listen, it was the second half of the 6th century BC. It is undeniably tempting to explain certain features of early Greek philosophy by Iranian influences. the sudden elevation of time to a primeval god in Pherecydes, the identification of fire with justice in Heraclitus, Anaximander's astronomy placing the stars nearer to the Earth than the Moon. These and other ideas immediately call to mind theories which we have been taught to consider Zoroastrian, or at any rate Persian, or at least Oriental. 30. Therefore, among the pre-Socratics, we find a concern with the typical Magian doctrines of astralism, dualism, and pantheism. Thus, the earliest of the pre-Socratics contended as to which of the four elements was the underlying substance of the universe. Anaximander of Miletus, who was 64 years old in 547 or 546 BC, and pupil of Thales, speculated that the sky contained separate spheres through which the planets traveled, a concept that would dominate astronomical thought until the 17th century. Thales had believed that the underlying substance of the universe was water, but Anaximander thought it to be something other, and that it was boundless, from which the four elements ensue. Like Anaximander, Anaximenes, who flourished in 545 BC, the third Milesian among those regarded as the first of the Greek philosophers, believed that the underlying matter is boundless, but consisting of air, which he regarded as a god. As it becomes denser, air becomes fire, water and earth. Magian thought is again evident in Anaxagoras, who was born in Ionia around 500 BC, was the teacher of both the statesman Pericles and the playwright Euripides, and the greatest influence on the philosopher Socrates. He had been summoned to trial for teaching astronomy and for being pro-Persian. He explained, and mind set in order all things, whatever kinds of things were to be, whatever were and all that are now and whatever will be, and also this rotation in which are now rotating the stars and the sun and the moon, and the air and aether that are being separated off. 31 To Heraclitus, born in the Ionian city of Ephesus about 540 BC, in accordance with the teachings of the Magi, God was a fire endowed with intelligence. As with most, if not all, of the early philosophers, Heraclitus espoused a doctrine of pantheism, the belief that the entire universe is a single eternal living being. Nearly all pre-Socratic philosophers adhered to a dualistic philosophy of the universe, seeing the world as a struggle between opposites. The Pythagoreans posited two principles, 32, and to Anaximander, circa 610 circa 546 BC, justice regulates the interplay of physical opposites. To Empedocles all things consist of fire, and he envisaged a dualistic universe, and of great cosmic cycles in which the four elements, earth, air, fire and water, are mixed together by love and pulled apart by strife.
Empedocles discusses an account of a descent and return from the underworld paralleled by Lucian's mention of the practices of a Zoroastrian magus at Babylon, who he heard are able, through certain spells and rituals, to open the gates of Hades and take down safely whomever they want and then bring them back up again. 33 Empedocles was born about 515 BC, in Elia in southern Italy, a famous center of Greek philosophy, which owed its existence to the Persian takeover of Ionia in 546 BC.
Several ancient writers, including Pliny, Philostratus and Apuleius, had made Empedocles a disciple of the Magi, and the first reference we have of him in surviving Greek literature, dating back to his own lifetime, is from the 5th century BC, Xanthus of Lydia, which presented him in the context of a discussion of the Persian Magi. 34. Osthenes, Zoroaster's supposed disciple, known as the Prince of the Magi, was said to have accompanied Xerxes on his campaign against Greece as his chief magus. Pliny mentioned that Osthenes was the first person to write a book on magic, and nurtured the seeds, as it were, of this monstrous art, spreading the disease to all corners of the world on his way. However, some very thorough researchers place another Zoroaster, who came from Proconnesus, somewhat before Osthenes' time. One thing is certain. Osthenes was chiefly responsible for stirring up among the Greeks not merely an appetite but a mad obsession for this art. 35. It is said that after the emperor's defeat at Salamis, Osthenes stayed behind to become the teacher of Democritus, an Ionian philosopher, born in 460 BC. The reputed author of 72 works, Democritus apparently also visited Babylon to study the science of the Chaldeans, of which he is to have written on the subject. He summed up his results of his investigations in a Chaldean treatise. Another tractate was entitled On the Sacred Writings of Those in Babylon, and as a result of his visit to Persia, he wrote Megaea. In an extract, Democritus, following the Babylonian pattern, distinguishes the trinity of the Sun, Moon and Venus from the other planets. 36.